In today's video, we'll be talking about the basic SQL statements. Good everyone, my name is Stanley, the founder of Stanalytics, and in this video, I'm going to be showing us how to write and run the basic SQL statements. As you all know that after we designed our database, we have to import our data set, that is the data in which we recorded. So then you are going to do analysis based on the data sets that we recorded, right? So let's assume that you've already built the student's data set. So you will now want to, import the data set to the database so we can conduct our analysis on the database. So we don't want to use Excel for analysis, we want to use MySQL. So generally, when we want to conduct analysis on MySQL, we conduct analysis on large data sets, like let's say close to millions of data, because Excel cannot really handle large data sets like that. So let's say we have big companies like let's say Microsoft and Amazon. They rarely use Excel because Excel is specifically built to handle small data sets. We use SQL for the data analysis and data cleaning and everything. Then we use Tableau and any other business tool for data visualization. Yeah, so moving on, let's say this is just a sample data set which is actually drafted by me, because for you to understand the bigger concept, we have to start from the small, right? You have to start from the basics. So this is a student data set which I just drafted 5 rows, and this is the primary key. We know that student ID is the unique key serving as the primary key, right? And also the data model of this database is specifically designed that we are not looking for any relationship. We just want to store the data set directly as it is. So these are all the student information. So there's nothing like we are looking for one-to-one relationships, or we are trying to look for foreign key, or trying to do, we're not doing any of those stuffs in this table, in this data. So we just want to be direct. So moving on, we are going to start with the select statement. So we are going to go to our MySQL. Yeah, so now there are 2 ways in which we can actually do it, because in the last video I didn't teach us how to import the data set manually. That is, we are going to code the data set manually. So I'm going to do it here in MySQL. So to do that, write insert into then our database name, our database table name, which is students, right? Then values, then students ID of 1. We are warning that for a string, for us to write a name or anything that's to do with letter or an alphabet, we have to write it in quotation, so the program is going to recognize that it's a string value. Consider that the first name is Tolu, 14 years of age, and he scored 92. So Tolu, then age 14, then basically then write a comma, then the second row, then so Tola is the second person, while Tai is the third person. So Tola, right, then let's say 16 years of age, then write a comma. So every time you are filling the rows, I've already explained what rows and columns is in Excel. So anytime you are filling each row, you are going to start with a separate how will I put it, a separate line. So after writing each row, we are going to start the separate line for us to indicate that okay, if we've already written this row, it's time for us to start a new line. Although it's not necessary we start writing a new line. For example, we can continue for our third row in the same line, but as long as you have already used a comma to indicate that okay, we are writing for another observation. So for example, we're writing for anointed now instead of Philip, or we're writing for Jacob now instead of Joseph. So that's what the comma is actually used for. So Then when you are done with your MySQL code, generally when you're writing MySQL code and you are done with it, you indicate it with a semicolon to indicate that, okay, yes, I'm done with my query and I want MySQL to run it. So basically in this situation, I want MySQL to input these data sets as these are the record I made. So these are the, okay, so let me put this in a broader way. Let's say you ask the student to fill the fill a questionnaire about their details, right? And they fill the questionnaire, and you don't want to use Excel to, you know, write the data set and put it on the computer. You want to use MySQL, so you want to directly like type the data manually into the database. So this is how you are going to do it. So you run the query. Hey, now after you've done that, we will now start with the basic SQL query, like the ones we are concerned with, starting from the select statement. So the select statement. So now select statement is in two ways. It allows you to either like select, like choose every single column. And what I mean by column, this student's name is a particular column, or let's go back to our Excel sheet better still so you can better. This is a column, student's ID is a column, student's name is a column, age is a column, and grade is a column, right? So the select statement allows us to either specify every single column at once, or specify, or like to select either one of them. Can decide to choose student's ID and student's name only, or student's ID, student's name, and their age. So they're going to show us how to do it. To select every single column, right, select star from and another thing we need to notice is that MySQL is not case sensitive, unlike Python and R programming. Though I'm not really sure of Python, but I do know R programming is a little case sensitive. If you named your variable, like if you assigned your variable, let's say you assign your variable with capital X, and you want to like call back the variable, like want to print out the value of the variable. Let's say you assign X equals to 5 with a capital letter, and they want to call back that variable X. As long as you didn't write like print X, as long as the X was not in capital letter when you asked to print it, and when you assign the variable X was in capital letter, our program is going to return an error message for you. So that's about our programming. So when we get to the later stages of this tutorial video, so you can see that the 3 data sets in which we recorded has been manually inserted in our database. So we are not going to work with this manual inputs. Instead, we are going to work with this Excel data set. So we are going to import the data, and I'm going to show us how to import the data set. So another thing we need to note is that MySQL, this MySQL workbench, only allows you to import a CSV file, which is a comma separated file. So it is similar to Excel, just that it has been delimited. Like what I mean by delimited, it has look at the way this MySQL code, this insert statement, you can see that it has been separated with a comma. That is a similar way in which MySQL does, in which the comma separated file works. So it's each observation, each single value has been separated by a comma or another delimited, like it can be a space bar or any other thing. So that's how it does this thing, and that's the only format in which MySQL allows. So you can, whenever you're saving an Excel worksheet and you want to import it to a database, you can decide to save it as a CSV file, and it's easy to do that in Excel. So moving on, now you are using this portfolio database rather. As you can see that it has been bolded as compared to every other data set we have here, database. So to do that, just right click on these tables, table imports wizard, then click on browse, then look for your data destination, students data. Then you can see comma separated values. So you can see table data import allows you to easily import CSV, JSON datasets. So it only allows CSV file and JSON datasets. This JSON dataset is basically JavaScript, and we won't be covering that in my video. So then it allows you, okay, do you want to create a new table portfolio, students data, Yes. Or do you want to drop table if exists? I also click on drop table if exists. So what this drop table if exists means that if maybe by coincidence or by a mistake I've already created a table with the same name and I don't want to, and this is the table I want to use, you should delete that initial table and only keep this table that I want to import. So click on next. The next thing is going to do is it's going to specify your data type. Student's ID is an integer. Student's name is a text file. We all know that because it's deal with the name of a person. Then age is an integer and grade is also an integer. And to show you a preview of your data set, then click on next. Then click on next. So you can see that finished performing task. Click next to continue. Then so another thing is to view the data set. You can first refresh your data, then students data, then click on this so you can see it. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to select students name and students ID, students name only from the student data. So to do that, you can just write select then student ID, comma, student name, and their grade from then students, then so you can see it. So this selected students ID, students name, and students grade. So thank you very much for watching, and in the next video I'm going to be covering the where clause, which is basically like a filter. It's like an if and like an if statement in Excel. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.